So, I used to be a cashier at a popular thrift store that will remain unnamed for reasons. I worked as a cashier there for nearly 4 years, so I've got some stories to tell about the different types of customers I always had the pleasure of helping. Now, I just want to preface by saying that I absolutely did not enjoy working for this company, and some of the complaints the customers had were very, very valid. What's not valid, though, is taking their frustrations out on the minimum wage worker that is forced to listen to them yap for 2 to 5 minutes while their items get rang up, and we're just trying to keep our job. Not all of these types of customers are necessarily bad, but irritating at the very least. And if you've witnessed similar types of annoying customers in public, or maybe you are one of these types of customers, please share your experiences in the comments. Now, this first type of customer at thrift stores might be a bit controversial, depending on how you look at it. These are the tag switchers. Those who regularly shop at thrift stores know that most of the time, they'll have a tag that is a specific color that will be on sale, usually for about a week or so. At my store, we would have 2 tags on sale at the same time, one for like $1.99 and one for 50% off. So the aforementioned type of customer will take an item that has one of these sale tags, slowly pick and peel it off, and then slap it onto another item in hopes that the cashier won't notice. Most of the time, my fellow cashiers would not pay attention to this at all and just scan the barcode without even looking at it. For some reason, when I first started this job, I was determined to catch all of the wrongdoers to look better for my managers. I learned all of the customers' tricks and began paying super close attention to the tag and its condition. So someone would bring up a stereo with a colored tag sale listed under glassware for $3.99, and this sets off all of the red flags for me. First off, a stereo would be priced no less than $7.99, and secondly, it's obviously not a glassware item. At this point, once I noticed the tag was switched, I would politely and calmly let the customer know that the tag has been tampered with and I will have to give it a new price and it won't be on sale anymore. We had these cool little binders filled with categories, prices, and brands to be able to price things on the fly at the registers. So I whipped my little book out, leafed through the pages, and told the customer the stereo would be $7.99 and final sale since it no longer had a tag. Once I say this, usually one of 2 things happen. 1, the customer accepts their defeat and simply tells me they don't want the item anymore. Or 2, the customer gets super upset and aggressive. This usually results in them asking for a manager, or they end up just cussing me out the whole time while I ring up the rest of their items and send them on their merry way. I know this is definitely a bit controversial, and some people will say, why did you care so much? Just scan the damn barcode and give them the sale. And as I said before, when I first started that job, I was very eager to please my managers, and I felt like catching customers trying to swindle us would get me brownie points or something. But now, if I were still doing that job after having worked there for 4 years, I absolutely would not care at all. In fact, I would give them any discount I had available without a manager's consent. Similar to the tag switchers, the next type of customer is the "can I get a discount?" keeping in mind that all of the items we receive were donated and often in used condition. Asking for a discount sometimes is totally justified and valid. The people pricing in the back are human and they miss things from time to time when producing an item. So sometimes, yeah, a discount is totally okay to ask for. However, I swear I always had these same customers who would literally find any reason to ask for a discount. Hey, how's it going? Did you find everything all right? Well, yeah, aside from this shirt, can I get a discount on it? What's wrong with it? Oh, nothing. It's just that I'm only gonna wear it once for a wedding, so I was hoping to get it cheaper. No? Either that, or the customer would attempt to show me a microscopic blemish on the item and expect me to give it to them for like 99 cents or something. And if I were honest and told them I didn't see anything wrong with the item, they would then proceed to cuss me out, call me a liar, and tell me I work for a greedy CEO that doesn't care about their customers. Sometimes this would happen and I would call a manager to examine the issue, and then that would just irritate the customer even more, because they know damn well there's nothing wrong and they aren't gonna win the argument anyway. So then they just say, never mind, and either leave or just pay full price. On the slightly more cheerful side of things, we have the thrift enthusiast. These types of people are always lined up right outside the door up to 10 minutes before the store even opens. They've got a twinkle in their eye and a smile from ear to ear. The second we open the front door, they run in like a kid going to Disneyland for the first time. Now, I don't mind these customers at all. They're usually polite, they don't trash the store, and they don't ask any questions. So then, what's the problem? Well, the issue starts once they get to checkout. They always approach the register with confidence, as if they know the exact play-by-play of what's about to go down, which would be okay, but it's also mildly irritating when I would would go to ask them if they want to donate to the cause or instruct them on the card reader, and then they just say, "Oh, yep, I know. You don't gotta give me the spiel. I basically work here. I couldn't actually work here, though. I don't know how you work here. My whole paycheck would be gone in a second." And this would be all fine and dandy if they didn't do this every single time they came in, which was very often. It wasn't really a big deal, but it definitely at least is a little bit annoying to have it happen multiple times a day by these people. In contrast to the Enthusiast, we have what I like to call the Yeeters. This is Yeeters as in someone who yeets something. I don't know if that word is still cool or not, but I'm going with it. So these Yeeters act like they've never been in a store before in their life. They're grabbing things off the shelf, just yeeting it back either onto the shelf or sometimes just right onto the floor. They yeet the clothes over the racks. They yeet the items they want to buy at my face. They just come in and wreck the place without any regard to people who work there or the other customers. We often had these drills where all the employees would go out onto the floor and clean up the store for like 5 minutes. During this time is usually when I would catch the yeeters in act. I would be grabbing a piece of clothes from the previous yeeter and hanging it back onto the rack, just to have another yeeter throw something back right in front of my face. This happened one time and I literally stared at the guy and just said, "Really?" And he just looked at me, shrugged, and walked away. I was dumbfounded. This was still pretty early into my career, so I wasn't nearly as confrontational as I was toward the end of the 4 years. I was still really shy, and it made my body shake just to say what I said to them. Had it been around the 4-year mark, I probably would have bit the dude or something. I was so tired of being a cashier and dealing with terrible customers on a daily basis. The next type of customer didn't really bother me so much because of what they do outside of the store, just how they go about things while still in the store. These people are the resellers. Again, I don't care at all that people buy things cheap from a thrift store and flip them for profit. Get that bread, do your hustle, I really don't care. What I do care about is that you come up to my register with literally 3 carts full of glass items that you want me to wrap in no less than 3 sheets of paper each and no more than 5 items per bag. This takes an extremely long time to process, and I swear these people always know to show up at the register 10 minutes before my lunch break. These people were usually very pleasant to work with though. They always said their please and thank yous, but it didn't make the ordeal any less time consuming. The only time it would get worse was when they would begin to get super picky about the way I bagged their items. Like, I understand that they're buying things for their business and it's their inventory essentially that I'm handling, but sometimes they went a little overboard with the directions. I also always knew when they were resellers because they would always let it slip how much a specific item is worth and then try to pretend like they didn't tell me, as if it's illegal to resell items from a thrift store or something. So I would be wrapping a glass dolphin in 42 sheets of paper, securing it with tape and Gorilla Glue, all while the customer is telling me that the dolphin was hand-blown glass from a famous person in another country and that is probably worth more than my car, as if that makes handling the item any easier. I already felt a ton of pressure when wrapping glass items, so then when they would tell me the value, I would physically feel my fingers turn into sticks of butter. These people usually end up spending hundreds of dollars per transaction, and we thankfully didn't see them very often, but when they did show up, they would definitely make their presence known. Speaking of making their presence known, this type of customer is probably the most frequently encountered on this list, the storyteller. Now, I know the demographic for thrift stores is mostly old people, and I know old people are lonely, but goddamn, I really don't want to listen to you yap about how you met your 13th wife at a bar in Ohio during a full moon and you made jokes about being werewolves and then you went home and drank each other's blood from martini glasses. Actually, that would probably be a lot more entertaining than the stories I often got, which were usually from an elderly person about the good old days before smartphones and Teslas. Sometimes these stories would actually be kind of interesting, but more often than not, it was just them complaining about not understanding kids these days and refusing to pay with cards and crying blasphemy when I tell them we don't accept checks. Sometimes the conversations would get a bit personal and they would comment on my tattoos and colored hair and talk about how back in their day, that wasn't normal at all and I would never find a husband looking like that. At least not one that didn't worship the devil. Now, this final type of customer has got to be the worst on the entire list. This type of customer is the last-minute shopper. Imagine this. 5 minutes before the store closes. I just finished making the last call announcement over the intercom. The other cashiers are walking around to make sure everyone's out of the store. The manager is eagerly waiting to flip the lock for the night. Then, to our dismay, we see a car pull into the parking lot. According to our higher-ups, we aren't allowed to lock the doors at all until it was closing time exactly, meaning we had to let this person in. They usually came running inside saying some bullshit like, "Phew, I got here just in time," before we remind them that we close in 5 minutes. By the time they make it to the register, it's 15 after closing. They have 6 items in their basket, and instead of setting them all up on the register, they begin to debate with their purchases. And this conjures up a hidden alternative type of terrible customer, the indecisive. There is nothing worse than a last-minute indecisive customer. With each item, they run through the same set of problems.
Oh, it's so cute, but I really don't need it. Oh, but it's so cheap. Sorry, I know you guys are closing soon, but I'm just not really sure if I need this.
For every single item. I usually try to be patient and give the same excellent customer service I give to all of my customers, but at some point I lose the mask and I just don't entertain this person at all. I'm just staring at them with cold, dead eyes that say, if you don't hurry up, I'm going to climb over this counter and blind you with the scanner. 30 minutes past closing, the person finally lets me and the other employees out of their shopping addiction-fueled hostage situation and leaves the store. We all breathe a huge sigh before screaming simultaneously as we scramble to clean up the entire store in less than 15 minutes. I won't lie and say I don't miss being a cashier sometimes. I had a lot of regular customers that were super nice, and I genuinely enjoyed having conversations with them. Working as a cashier at a thrift store was probably one of the easiest places to be a cashier because you really don't need to know anything about anything. When a customer brings up an item to you, you're not really expected to know what it is or how it works. That was always a plus in my book because I couldn't imagine having to actually know things about the inventory we kept. Sometimes a customer would bring up a strange item to ask me what it was, and I would tell them I didn't know, and then if there weren't other people in line, we would just use Google to try to figure it out together. Some of the things that came through my line were interesting, but never as interesting as the people themselves. Anyway, I've yapped on long enough about this. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and like the video. It sure means a lot to me. Now get on with your life and have fun.